I found my husband's secret bank account, then discovered he'd been stealing from my dying mother. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. Even now, my hands are shaking as I type, and I've had to delete and rewrite this introduction about 5 times. I guess there's no perfect way to start a story about how your life implodes. So I'll just begin where it all started, with a single misplaced envelope. 3 weeks ago, I was cleaning our home office while my husband Tom was on a business trip. He travels frequently for work, pharmaceutical sales, usually gone Monday through Thursday most weeks. This particular trip was to Chicago, an important conference he'd been preparing for months. I remember feeling proud of him that morning as he left, kissing me goodbye, promising to bring back some deep dish pizza, an inside joke between us. 17 years of marriage, and he still made me smile as he walked out the door. While organizing the desk drawers, I noticed an envelope had slipped behind the filing cabinet. I pulled it out, assuming it was just junk mail or an old bill. But it was from First National Bank, addressed to Tom. We bank with Wells Fargo, have for our entire marriage. I stared at it, confused. The envelope was already open, and before I could even process what I was doing, I pulled out the statement inside. The statement showed a balance of $46,732.19. An account I knew nothing about. I sat down, suddenly dizzy. We've always had joint accounts. We'd promised total financial transparency when we got married. It was one of our core values, no secrets about money. Tom had seen his parents' marriage destroyed by financial deception, and he'd been adamant that we would never fall into that trap. Yet here was proof of a secret he'd been keeping. As I examined the statement more closely, I noticed regular deposits, usually between $1,000 and $2,000, going back months. The most recent deposit was for $1,750, made just 2 days before his trip. I wish I could say I put the statement back and calmly waited for Tom to return so we could discuss it like rational adults. But that's not what happened. Instead, I frantically tore through his office drawers, searching for more evidence. I found nothing except a small key I didn't recognize, tucked inside an old cigar box. Strange, since Tom doesn't smoke. Then I did something I never thought I was capable of. I logged into his email account. We've always known each other's passwords, again, that transparency thing, but I'd never actually used his before. There was a folder labeled Personal Finances that I'd never noticed when occasionally using his laptop. Inside were emails from First National, confirming transfers and deposits. Going back 3 years. 3 years of secret deposits. Over $46,000 hidden from me. My mind raced with possibilities. Was he planning to leave me? Was there someone else? Was it addiction, gambling, or something worse? The Tom I knew, the man who brought me coffee every morning, who cried when we lost our first pregnancy, who spent weekends coaching our daughter Lily's soccer team, that man wouldn't do this. He couldn't. I called him immediately. When he answered, I could hear the convention center noise in the background, people chatting, announcements over a PA system. "Hey babe, everything okay?" His voice was so normal, so Tom. I tried to sound calm. "I found something strange today. A bank statement." The background noise suddenly diminished, like he'd stepped into a quieter space. "What bank statement?" His voice had changed, hardened somehow. "From First National. An account I didn't know about." My voice cracked. "Tom, there's over $46,000 in there. What's going on?" The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Finally, he spoke. "I can explain everything when I get home. It's not what you think." "What exactly do I think, Tom?" I was surprised by the anger in my voice. "Because right now, I'm thinking my husband has been lying to me for years. I'll be home tomorrow. We'll talk then. I promise it's nothing bad." Nothing bad. As if secret accounts and hidden money could ever be nothing bad. I hung up without saying goodbye and immediately called my best friend, Jenna. She came over within the hour, bringing wine and sitting with me as I showed her the statement, the emails I'd found. Jenna has been my friend since college, was my maid of honor at our wedding, is godmother to our daughter. If anyone knew Tom as well as I did, it was her. "There's got to be an explanation," she said, though I could hear the doubt in her voice. "Maybe he's been saving for something special? A surprise vacation or something? For 3 years? And why hide it? We make decisions about money together. Always have." Jenna took my hand. "Don't jump to conclusions. Wait until he gets home. Let him explain." I nodded, but inside I was already spiraling. That night, I barely slept. I kept reaching for Tom's side of the bed, finding it cold and empty. By morning, my initial shock had hardened into something else, determination. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to wait until Tom decided to give them to me. I called my mother while Lily was at school. Mom has been battling stage 4 pancreatic cancer for the past 2 years. Against all odds and prognoses, she's still fighting, though the treatments have depleted much of her savings. Tom and I have been helping with her medical expenses, or so I thought. Mom, I said after our usual check-in about her health, I need to ask you something about the money we've been sending for your treatments. What about it, sweetheart? Her voice was weak, but her mind was still sharp. How have you been receiving it? Checks, transfers? She sounded confused. Tom always brings cash when he visits, says it's easier that way, avoids taxes or something. He's been so good about it, especially these last few months when things got tighter. My stomach dropped. Tom visited my mother every other week, bringing groceries and supposedly money to help with her care. Cash. Untraceable. About how much has he been giving you? I struggled to keep my voice steady. Usually about $500 a month. Sometimes more if there's a new prescription. Why are you asking, honey? Is everything okay? $500. Not the thousands he'd been withdrawing from the secret account. Everything's fine, Mom. Just trying to organize our tax records. The lie tasted bitter. I love you. I'll visit tomorrow, okay? After hanging up, I sat in silence, the pieces clicking together with horrific clarity. The money going into that account, it had to be coming from somewhere. Our joint accounts hadn't shown any unusual withdrawals. But there was one source that made sickening sense, the money we'd supposedly been sending to my mother. Tom had been skimming from the funds meant for my dying mother's care. Taking a portion for himself and giving her only a fraction of what we'd agreed upon. I vomited in the kitchen sink, heaving until there was nothing left but acidic bile. This wasn't my Tom. Couldn't be. There had to be another explanation. But the evidence was mounting, and my denial was crumbling. When I heard his key in the door that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, the bank statement in front of me, my face stiff from dried tears. Emily? He called, setting down his suitcase. Where are you? I didn't answer. His footsteps approached the kitchen, and then he saw me. Saw the paper on the table. You're home early, I said flatly. His face did something complicated, surprise, fear, then a forced casualness that made me want to scream. I caught an earlier flight. Wanted to get home to you. Sit down, Tom. He sat across from me, his posture unnaturally stiff. I know how this looks. I talked to my mother today. My voice was unnervingly calm. Funny thing. She said you've been giving her about $500 a month for her treatments. But this statement shows withdrawals of $1,500 to $2,000. The color drained from his face. Emily, I can explain. Please do. I slid the statement toward him. Explain why you've been stealing money meant for my mother's cancer treatments. Explain why you've been lying to me for 3 years. Explain why the man I thought I knew, the man I've loved for almost 2 decades, would steal from a dying woman. His eyes filled with tears, which only enraged me further. He had no right to cry. No right to play the victim here. It started small, he said, his voice barely audible. Just a little set aside for emergencies, for our future. The pharmaceutical industry is volatile, you know that. I wanted a safety net. A safety net, I repeated. And you didn't think to discuss this safety net with your wife? With the person you promised to share everything with? I was going to tell you once it reached a certain amount. I swear. His hand reached for mine, but I pulled away. And it's not like your mother has gone without care. I made sure she had what she needed. The audacity of that statement hit me like a physical blow. What she needed. You decided what my dying mother needed? You played God with her care? With our money? My voice rose with each question until I was shouting. Lower your voice, he hissed, glancing toward the stairs. Lily will hear you. Lily. Our 12-year-old daughter. The thought of her upstairs, potentially overhearing this nightmare, momentarily grounded me. She deserves better than this. Then you. Tom's face hardened. Don't bring her into this. This is between us. No, you brought her into this when you decided to steal from her grandmother's medical fund. When you betrayed this family. He stood up abruptly, pacing the kitchen. You're overreacting. Yes, I should have told you about the account. That was wrong. But I didn't steal anything. That money is ours. We earned it. That money was for my mother's treatment, I said through gritted teeth. Every penny we could spare, we agreed would go to helping her. You took that money that could have given her better care, maybe even more time, and you hid it away. What for, Tom? What was worth betraying everything we stand for? He wouldn't look at me. I told you. Security. Our future. But something in his evasive gaze told me there was more. What aren't you telling me? Silence stretched between us, taut as a wire. Tom. My voice broke. If there's more, tell me now. Because I swear to God, if I have to discover one more lie. I've been seeing someone. The words fell between us like stones. Time seemed to stop. The kitchen light buzzed overhead, suddenly deafening. What? The word was barely a whisper. It's not serious. Just someone I met through work. It doesn't mean anything. A hysterical laugh escaped me. Doesn't mean anything? You've been stealing money from my mother's cancer treatments too, what, wine and dine your girlfriend? It's not like that. His face flushed with anger now. The money was for us, for our security. Spending time with Vanessa, that was separate. Vanessa. The name felt poisonous on my tongue. How long? He looked away. About 2 years. 2 years. Half of my mother's illness. While I was shuttling between hospital visits and caring for Lily and trying to keep our home running during his frequent business trips, he'd been building a separate life. Get out. The words were ice. Emily, please. We can work through this. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pay the electric bill. A mistake is burning dinner. This, I gestured at the statement, at him, at the wreckage of our life together. This is a calculated betrayal. This is year after year of conscious choices to lie to me, to steal from my dying mother, to cheat on your family. Where am I supposed to go? His voice was small now. I don't care. A hotel. Your girlfriend's place. Hell, for all I know, you've got a whole separate apartment funded by my mother's pain medication money. I saw from his face that I'd hit close to the mark. Oh my God. You do, don't you? You've been setting up a whole separate life. It's just a small condo. For when I need space. Space. Another hysterical laugh. Well, you're about to get all the space you need. Get your essentials and get out. You have 30 minutes. You can't just kick me out. This is my house too. Try me. I stood, shaking with rage. You have 29 minutes now. And if you wake Lily, if you breathe a word of this to her before I've figured out how to explain that her father is a thief and a cheater, I swear I will destroy every piece of your life I can reach. He must have seen something in my eyes that frightened him because he backed away, then headed upstairs. I heard him moving around, opening drawers, the quiet sounds of a life being dismantled. When he came downstairs with a hastily packed duffel bag, I was still standing in the same spot, frozen in a moment that had cleaved my life in two, before and after. I'll call you tomorrow, he said at the door. When you've calmed down. Don't. It was all I could manage. After the door closed behind him, I sank to the kitchen floor and finally let the tears come. I spent the night researching divorce attorneys and trying not to vomit every time I thought about Tom with another woman, this Vanessa person, spending money that should have gone to easing my mother's suffering. By morning, I'd moved from shock to a cold, clear rage that felt almost like power. Lily came downstairs for breakfast, immediately sensing something was wrong. At 12, she notices everything. Where's Dad? She asked, looking at his empty place at the table. I'd rehearsed this moment all night. Dad had to go away for a while. He and I need some time apart to figure some things out. Her eyes widened. Are you getting divorced? The directness of her question caught me off guard. I don't know yet, honey. But I want you to know that no matter what happens between your dad and me, we both love you very much. She studied my face. Did he do something bad? Children have radars for lies. I decided on a partial truth. Yes. He made some choices that hurt our family very badly. Did he cheat on you? The question shocked me. Had she hurt us last night after all? Why would you ask that? She shrugged, looking suddenly much older than 12. Mia's dad cheated on her mom. Now he lives with his girlfriend and only sees Mia on weekends. My heart broke for her, for how quickly children adapt to the broken realities adults create. It's complicated, Lily. But yes, that's part of it. She nodded, absorbing this. Then, with the resilience of youth, asked, can I have Cocoa Puffs since Dad's not here to complain about the sugar? I laughed through fresh tears. Just today. That afternoon, I drove to my mother's house. I couldn't put off telling her, though the thought of adding this burden to her illness felt cruel. When I arrived, she was having a good day, sitting in her sunroom, a light blanket over her legs despite the summer heat. Her once robust frame had withered, but her eyes were clear as she watched me enter. "You look terrible," she said, direct as always. "What's happened?" I sat beside her, taking her fragile hand in mine. "Mom, I need to tell you something awful about Tom." As gently as I could, I explained what I'd discovered. With each word, her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to a deep, sorrowful understanding. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed my hand with surprising strength. "I wondered," she said softly. "The numbers never quite added up with what you said you were sending. But I thought maybe you were just trying to spare my feelings about the cost." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "Of course you didn't." Her voice was firm. "You trusted your husband, as you should have been able to. This is his shame, not yours. But if I'd been paying closer attention." "Stop that right now." Despite her weakness, my mother's tone brooked no argument. "You've been taking care of me, your daughter, your home, your job. You trusted the man who vowed to honor and cherish you. Don't you dare take his guilt upon yourself." I laid my head in her lap like I used to as a child, and she stroked my hair. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Divorce him. Try to reclaim the money for your treatments. Figure out how to be a single parent." She continued stroking my hair. "It won't be easy. I know. But you're stronger than you think. You always have been." Update. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. So much has happened, I hardly know where to begin. The day after I confronted Tom, I met with a divorce attorney, a barracuda of a woman recommended by Jenna, who apparently used her to destroy her own cheating ex 5 years ago. The attorney, Diana, listened to my story with a calm that gradually transformed into calculated fury. Financial infidelity on top of actual infidelity, plus theft from a cancer patient? Diana made notes as she spoke. "We're going to take him for everything, Mrs. Miller." I flinched at the name. "Just Emily, please." She looked up, understanding softening her features momentarily. "Emily. I know this feels overwhelming. But from a legal standpoint, your husband has made some catastrophically stupid choices. At minimum, we can document misappropriation of funds meant for your mother's care. That's elder abuse, potentially criminal." Criminal? I hadn't even considered that Tom could face legal consequences beyond our divorce. "Possibly. It depends on how the money was designated, what agreements were in place." She folded her hands on her desk. "But before we go nuclear, let's see what he's willing to offer to make this go away quietly." That same day, I froze our joint accounts and credit cards. Tom called almost immediately, his voice oscillating between anger and panic. "Emily, what the hell? I tried to use my card for lunch and it was declined." "How unfortunate for you," I said coolly. "Perhaps you could ask Vanessa to cover it." "This is ridiculous. You can't just cut me off from our money." "Our money," I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. "That's rich coming from the man with a secret bank account. Consider this a preview of coming attractions, Tom. I've retained a divorce attorney. She'll be contacting you." "A divorce attorney? Jesus, Emily, don't you think you're overreacting? We should at least try counseling." Counseling is for couples with communication problems or intimacy issues. Not for situations where one spouse has systematically lied, cheated, and stolen for years. My voice cracked. Not when that spouse has stolen from a dying woman. The line went quiet. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, "I never meant to hurt you or your mother. You have to believe that." "I don't have to believe anything you say ever again." I hung up. The next bombshell came 3 days later. Diana called, her voice tight with controlled rage. "Emily, I need you to brace yourself. We've started the discovery process, and we've found something concerning." My heart sank. "What now?" "There's more than one account. We've identified 3 separate accounts at different banks, totaling just over $127,000. The room seemed to tilt. That's not possible. Where would that money come from?" "That's what we're trying to determine. Our forensic accountant is tracing the deposits. But Emily, there's something else. Based on preliminary findings, it appears some money may have come from your daughter's college fund." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Lily's college fund. We'd been contributing to it since she was born, setting aside money each month to ensure she'd have options for her future. The thought of Tom stealing from his own daughter made the betrayal exponentially worse. "How much?" I finally managed. "We're still tracing it, but initial estimates suggest around $30,000. I hung up and promptly threw up in my kitchen sink for the second time that week. When I managed to pull myself together, I called Tom. This time, I didn't bother hiding my rage. "You stole from our daughter's college fund?" I didn't wait for him to speak. What kind of monster takes from their child's future? "It wasn't stealing," he insisted, though I could hear the defensiveness in his voice. "I was investing it more aggressively. The 529 plan was too conservative." "In what? What investment returns $127,000 on money stolen from your wife, mother-in-law, and child?" Silence. "Answer me, Tom." "It's complicated. Some of it was for a business opportunity that didn't pan out. Some was other expenses." "Other expenses," I repeated flatly. "Like maintaining your girlfriend? Your secret condo? What else don't I know about?" He sighed heavily. "There's no point in this conversation. You've already decided I'm the villain." "You decided that?" I screamed into the phone, months of betrayal finally detonating inside me. "You decided that when you stole from our dying mother and your own daughter. You decided that when you built a secret life behind my back for years while I trusted you, loved you, defended you to anyone who ever said a word against you." After I hung up, I sat on my kitchen floor and sobbed until there was nothing left. Jenna found me there 2 hours later when she came to check on me. "Oh, honey," she whispered, sitting beside me and pulling me into her arms. "Let it all out." "He took from Lily's college fund," I choked out. "From our daughter." Jenna stiffened. "That fucking bastard." She rarely cursed. "Emily, promise me something." I looked up at her tear-blurred face. "Promise me you won't let him manipulate you into forgiving this. Not this." I nodded slowly. "I won't." The next day, Tom showed up unannounced at the house. I was in the backyard gardening, an activity that had become my therapy, digging my hands into soil, creating order from chaos. "Emily." His voice startled me so badly I dropped my trowel. I stood, wiping dirt on my jeans. "You're not supposed to be here." He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled. In the past, this would have triggered my nurturing instincts. Now, I felt nothing but contempt. "I need to explain. About Lily's college fund." He stepped closer. "It wasn't what you think." "Don't come any closer." I held up my hand. "Whatever explanation you have, save it for your attorney. For God's sake, Emily, can we just talk like normal people? Without lawyers? Without all this drama?" The audacity of that word, drama, as if my reaction to his betrayal was somehow excessive, made something snap inside me. "Normal people?" I laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Normal people don't steal from cancer patients. Normal people don't embezzle from their child's education. Normal people don't live double lives for years. I made mistakes." "No. A mistake is something unintentional. You made choices, Tom. Thousands of choices, every day, for years, to lie to me. To steal from the people who trusted you most." He ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. "I was going to pay it all back. I had a plan." "A plan?" I shook my head. "Let me guess. Another investment opportunity that would magically fix everything? More lies to cover the old ones? You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The company has been downsizing, my position isn't secure. I needed a backup plan." "And that plan included Vanessa? Was she part of your financial strategy too?" His face flushed. "Vanessa was a complication." "A complication," I repeated. "Is that what you call the woman you've been sleeping with while your wife cared for her dying mother?" He looked away. "It wasn't just physical. She understood me. The pressure I was under. She didn't constantly question my decisions or make me feel inadequate." The words hit me like a slap. After everything, he was trying to blame me for his infidelity. "Get out," I said quietly. "Get out before I call the police and report you for trespassing. This is still my house." "Not for much longer." I turned my back on him and continued gardening, my hands shaking as I dug into the earth with renewed fury. After a moment, I heard his footsteps retreating. That night, I finally told Lily more details about what was happening. Not everything. She didn't need to know about Vanessa or the full extent of her father's theft, but enough that she would understand why her world was changing so dramatically. "Dad took money that wasn't his," I explained as we sat on her bed, her room illuminated only by the string lights she'd insisted on hanging when she turned 12. "I'm practically a teenager, Mom." "From Grandma's medicine money?" she asked. She'd always been perceptive. I nodded. "And from some other places. He made some very bad decisions, and now there are consequences. She was quiet for a long moment, fidgeting with her comforter. Is that why he hasn't called me? Because he's ashamed? The question broke my heart. Tom hadn't contacted Lily since he left, not even a text message. I don't know, sweetie. But his choices aren't about you. You didn't do anything wrong. Can I still love him? Her voice was small, uncertain. Even if he did bad things? I pulled her close. Of course you can. Loving someone doesn't mean you approve of their choices. It just means you care about them despite their flaws. She leaned against me. Do you still love him? The question caught me off guard. Did I? Under the rage and betrayal and hurt, was there still love for the man who had been my partner for 17 years? I love who I thought he was, I finally said. I'm still figuring out how I feel about who he actually is. Edit. Several people have asked about Vanessa, who she is, if I've confronted her, etc. The truth is, I know very little about her, only what my attorney has uncovered. She works for a competing pharmaceutical company, is divorced, no children, lives in the same city where Tom supposedly had many of his business conferences over the past 2 years. I haven't contacted her. I don't plan to. Some have suggested I deserve to confront her, to make her acknowledge what she participated in. But the reality is, while she made despicable choices in having an affair with a married man, she didn't make vows to me. Tom did. My battle is with him, not her. A month after my discovery, the forensic accountant completed her report. Diana invited me to her office to review the findings, her expression grave as I sat across from her desk. It's worse than we thought, she said without preamble, sliding a folder toward me. The money trail is complex, but the short version is this: Tom has been systematically diverting funds for nearly 4 years, not 3 as we initially believed. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Charts and bank statements swam before my eyes, but the summary page was clear enough. Tom had taken approximately $42,000 from the money intended for my mother's care. $31,750 from Lily's college fund. $53,000 from our joint savings and retirement accounts. Where did it all go? I asked, my voice hollow. Diana's lips thinned. Multiple destinations. Some went to maintain the condo, about $1,800 monthly for rent and utilities. Some went to gifts and expenses related to his relationship with Vanessa, restaurants, hotels, jewelry. We found receipts for a Cartier bracelet, weekend getaways, designer clothing. Each word was a fresh wound. While I'd been buying generic brands to stretch our budget so we could help my mother, Tom had been buying Cartier for his girlfriend. There were also some questionable investment ventures, Diana continued. A cryptocurrency scheme that lost about $20,000. A friend's startup that went bankrupt. A timeshare property in Belize. Belize? I looked up, confused. Yes. Apparently, he and Vanessa had plans to vacation there regularly. The property was purchased in both their names. The room seemed to spin. Not just an affair, but a future plan with another woman. Vacations. Property. A life being constructed parallel to ours. There's one more thing, Diana said, her voice gentler now. We found evidence of a consultation with a divorce attorney. From Tom. Dated about 6 months ago. The final blow. He had been planning to leave us. All while playing the devoted husband and father, while holding my hand during my mother's treatments, while coaching Lily's soccer games and making Sunday pancakes and planning our family vacation to Disney World. He was never going to tell me, I said numbly. He was just going to disappear one day, wasn't he? Diana nodded. Based on the documentation, it appears he was preparing for a separation once he had sufficient funds secured. I laughed, a broken sound. So I actually caught him mid-heist. If I hadn't found that statement. Emily. Diana reached across the desk to grasp my hand. This is devastating, I know. But legally, this puts us in an extremely strong position. The documented financial fraud alone would give us leverage, but the evidence of premeditated abandonment after systematically draining family assets? A judge will crucify him. I nodded, trying to focus on the practical aspects through my shock. What happens now? Now we present these findings to Tom's attorney and see if they want to negotiate a settlement or take their chances in court. She smiled thinly. If they have any sense at all, they'll settle. They settled. Tom's attorney, a college friend who clearly hadn't anticipated the magnitude of what he was defending, called Diana 3 days after receiving our evidence package. The terms were straightforward. Tom would surrender all rights to our house, return every penny taken from my mother and Lily, split our joint assets 70-30 in my favor, and pay both child support and alimony. In return, we wouldn't pursue criminal charges for financial elder abuse or fraud. When Diana called with the news, I felt no triumph, only exhaustion. He agreed to everything? Everything, Diana confirmed. His attorney practically begged us to accept. Apparently, Tom's employer got wind of the situation, no idea how, and he's been placed on administrative leave pending an ethics investigation. The house of cards was collapsing all at once. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, I just felt hollow. That evening, as I was making dinner, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Tom standing there, looking like a shell of himself. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped aside. Whatever he had to say, better to hear it and be done. He stood awkwardly in the entryway, as if suddenly unsure of his place in the home he'd lived in for a decade. "I signed the papers," he said. "All of them." Diana told me. He nodded, looking around at the familiar surroundings. "Is Lily here?" "She's at Jenna's for a sleepover." Relief crossed his face, followed by shame. "Good. I wanted to talk to you alone first." I crossed my arms. "So talk." "I know you won't believe me, but I am sorry. Sorrier than I've ever been for anything." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my chest ache despite everything. "What I did, all of it, it's unforgivable. I know that." "Then why are you here?" "Because I need you to know it wasn't about you. Any of it. You were." His voice broke. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I destroyed it. For what? Money I didn't even need. A woman I didn't even love, not really." "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't rewrite history to make yourself feel better. You made thousands of choices, Tom. Every time you transferred money, every time you lied to my face, every time you slept with her while I waited at home. Those weren't accidents or momentary weaknesses. That was who you are." He flinched. "Maybe you're right. Maybe this is who I've always been, and I just hid it well. Or maybe I changed and didn't even notice it happening. I don't know anymore." For the first time, I saw genuine confusion in his eyes, not just self-pity or manipulation. It didn't excuse anything, but it was at least honest. "What will you do now?" I asked, surprised to find I actually wanted to know. "My brother's letting me stay with him for a while. The company will probably fire me once their investigation concludes." He gave a hollow laugh. "Starting over at 45. Not exactly what I planned." "None of this is what any of us planned." He looked at me then, really looked at me, his eyes filled with a regret so profound it seemed to age him. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest." I waited. "Should I try to see Lily? Or would it be better for her if I stepped away for a while?" The question stunned me. In all our battles, Lily's relationship with her father had been the one line I assumed we'd both protect. "You're asking if you should abandon your daughter?" My voice rose. "After everything else you've taken from her?" "No. God, no." He looked horrified. I don't want to make things harder for her. If seeing me would hurt her more right now." I took a deep breath, forcing down my anger. For Lily's sake, I needed to be rational about this. "She asks about you every day," I said finally. "She wonders why you haven't called. Whatever you've done, Tom, she's still your daughter, and she still loves you. Don't punish her for your mistakes." Tears filled his eyes. "I don't deserve her." "No," I agreed. "You don't. But she deserves a father, even a deeply flawed one. So be better. Not for me, that ship has sailed, but for her." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "I'll call her tomorrow. Ask if she wants to have dinner this weekend." "Good." I moved toward the door, indicating our conversation was ending. "And Tom? If you ever hurt her again, if you make promises you don't keep or disappear from her life or make her feel for 1 second like any of this was her fault, I will make sure you never see her again. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear." He stepped toward the door, then paused. "Emily? For whatever it's worth, and I know it's not worth much, I did love you. That wasn't a lie." I looked at him, this stranger I'd shared a bed with for 17 years, whose child I'd borne, whose life had been intertwined with mine in 1,000 intimate ways. And I felt nothing. Not hatred, not love. Just emptiness where something vital had once lived. "Goodbye, Tom," I said, and closed the door. 6 months have passed since I found that bank statement. My mother died 3 weeks ago, peacefully, with me holding her hand. In her final days, she made me promise not to let bitterness consume me, to remember that life is too short for sustained hatred. Your anger is justified, she told me, her voice barely a whisper. But don't let it define you. I'm trying to honor that promise, though some days are harder than others. The divorce is final. The house is in my name. Lily sees Tom for dinner twice a week and spends every other weekend at his new apartment. She comes home from these visits quieter than usual, but not unhappy. They're building something new, something honest. I'm grateful for that, at least. As for me, I'm learning who I am without Tom. Some days, I feel like I'm discovering myself for the first time, what I like, what I want, who I might become. Other days, the grief ambushes me in ordinary moments, reaching for 2 coffee mugs instead of 1, turning to share a thought with someone who isn't there, waking from dreams where none of this happened and our life continued as I'd always imagined it would. Jenna tells me I should consider dating again, that not all men are lying thieves. I know she's right in theory, but the thought of trusting anyone that way again feels impossible right now. Maybe someday. Last week, I planted a garden in my mother's memory, all her favorite flowers, arranged in the sunshine corner of the yard. As I dug in the soil, creating new life in a place defined by endings, I found myself crying. Not the desperate, angry tears of recent months, but something gentler, more reflective. I realized then that while Tom had taken so much from me, trust, security, the future I'd planned, he couldn't take everything. I still had Lily. I still had my friends. I still had myself, stronger now, wiser, unwilling to settle for beautiful lies when difficult truths offer more solid ground. Is forgiveness possible after such betrayal? I don't know yet. But I'm finding peace in unlikely places, in my daughter's resilience, in my mother's final wisdom, in my own capacity to rebuild what once seemed irreparable. The path forward isn't clear, but for the first time in months, I'm certain one exists. And maybe that's enough for now.